Hey guys, it's Baban, and I saw that WeLoveFine were doing a fan forge for ponies, so I was like, yeah, I'll have a go with that. Because it's fun to do stuff like t-shirt designs, so I decided to do one of old cheese legs, because cheese legs looks pretty cool. And yeah, you can see the scruffy sketch that I started out with, so now I'm just going over it and blocking everything out because I wasn't too sure about how to stretch the face and mess about with the expressions, so I blocked it out first to make it a little bit easier so that I had a guide to follow that was more cleaned up. And I'll be putting a link in the description so where you can go and vote for this, so it can be printed on t-shirts and bags and all that sort of stuff. I do like ponies, but I think it sort of went off in the later seasons just because they were trying to adapt to having all the weird bronies. I don't think it's amazing or anything, but I don't understand the people that go shouting about how they like it and how they have to try and justify it by saying that the animation's amazing, which it isn't. But I don't know. I'm okay with liking it. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with liking it. I don't need to try and justify why I like it. But yeah, I like cheese legs as design, so I wanted to draw cheese legs, and I thought I've tried it before where I try and make it look like the t-shirt's sort of ripped and there's something coming through it. I think I did that on one of my Homestuck designs. So I was like, if I do it with cheese legs, it sort of fits in with a theme because cheese legs, so cheese t-shirt. Now I do think I got a bit overexcited with putting holes into everything on this because obviously that's part of the design that I wanted to do, but I think it might have looked better if I made the holes maybe a bit smaller or didn't put as many in a design, because I put a lot more into a hair because obviously my style's less simplified than the style of the show, so I wanted to add more to it. And I gave her a little hairy ear because I'm obsessed with putting little hairs on everything lately. And she has like a weird fly thing. I was debating making her legs hairy, but I didn't because, yeah, people don't like it when I draw leg hair on things. But it might have looked weird on a pony. So instead I went with the gross long slathery tongue and like fleshy looking hair because the holes in the hair don't really make sense if it's hair, so I tried to make it look a bit more fleshy, which it is really gross, but again, she is a weird fly thing and she's supposed to look gross. And I tried to really stretch her face out a bit because I wanted her to look sort of weird and gross, and I was debating putting some more holes in the side of her face to try and make her look a little bit more emaciated, but I thought, nah, that's probably a bit too much. It's gonna look like some heavy metal album art or something, and it's ponies. Calm down. Anyway, lining all of this took me a good while because of all the awkward little holes in the background and trying to get them to overlap properly, but it was quite fun to try and make it look like it was stretching and how it'd like wrap around her as she's coming forward. And what I end up doing is only filling in where the insides of the holes are and where she is, because the idea is that these little strands in between the holes are the fabric of the t-shirt, and we're trying to draw her as though she's popping out through it. So I really tried to kind of weave her into those shapes that I had, so her wings are like in and out of it, and her hair's in and out of all these different holes, and her horns snagged on it, and her legs snagged on it and everything, to try and get a bit more interest in there. And I was trying to do it so it'd fit on all sorts of different colours of t-shirts, because I didn't really want it to be just fitting onto one, and you'll see later how I do add a little bit to the outside. I haven't just left it all clear. I added some shadows and everything so that it does have more of a 3D feel to it with all the shadows and little highlights. And I'm just slopping the colours on. I didn't pick colours from the reference. I didn't want them to end up as close to the reference as they did, but I still wanted to use that colour palette. But I'm starting to notice that I have a bit of a tendency to want to go more towards the true colour of things rather than playing with a set theme of colours. Like if I just made her in all blues instead of making everything the actual true colour that it is, like instead of the red for a mouth it might have been a bit of a different colour, just to keep it in with a analogous theme. But I did just end up going towards the colours that she actually was, and then messing about with the highlights and stuff. Okay, so we've added in some highlights that will be coming from the front, and I'm going to go and add in backlight later, but you can see how I've started to add in around these cut out shapes and the stretchy little holes in the shirt that I've added. You can see where I'm putting in a bit of shadow to show off the shape and make it react to what would be the light source coming forward. And I've got the little shadows around the back to make it seem as, round the bottom of it to make it seem as though she's popping out, and I've got all the little shapes reflected onto where the shirt will be. And I add some highlights in as well, just because it's going to be something that I want to be able to put on either a light shirt or a dark shirt and it'll still show up nice. And you can see me changing the background colour to try and do that, but I'm trying to keep it on a white background so that all the colours look nice and are pretty much like bright enough to see and not get bogged down if they are on a black background or a darker background. And now I'm just adding in some overlay just to change up the colours of the shadows a little bit, give them a bit more of a gradient. I put the gradient in the background to sort of bring in the colours from her hair a bit more, and I made all the background green because there isn't actually much green in the design apart from on her back, but I didn't include her back in the drawing, so it's just her eye, so sort of makes her eye pop out a bit more. And another reason that I really enjoyed working with the colours on this one is because it's mostly green in the background, like greens and blues. Since I've got her mouth open, putting the red in there really makes everything pop because it reacts with the green as a complementary and makes it pop a whole lot more than if it was just all blues and greens. And I don't know, most of you probably know that greens and reds are my favourite colours, so I obviously enjoyed working with it. I also like this really electric blue. I put a lot more sort of sky blue into her hair. It doesn't really make much sense, but I wanted to bring it in just to brighten it up. I went and put a few little just textured bits on the end of her hooves and a little bit on her face just to make her look a little bit more rough and scraggy. And I put more highlights under her eyes and around her mouth where all the stretchy, like wrinkly skin is, to make it pop out a little bit more because I didn't want it to look too flat. I wanted it to look a bit sort of grimy and gross. And I think we're nearly done. We're just putting in a bit of texture in the background. I'm gonna put some dribble because dribble's fun to draw. If you haven't drawn any dribble, go and draw some dribble, it's fun. And that's pretty much finished, just adding in the little highlights and it's done. Okay, and here's the finished thing. I'll put a link in the description to where you can go and vote for it, and it can be printed on shirts and bags and all fancy other stuff. Give us a like if you enjoyed this, share it if you think someone else will enjoy it, and subscribe for new videos on Tuesdays. I hope this helped. Thanks for watching, bye bye!